Hello children, welcome back to another session with me. I'm your host Abdul Rahman. Today is the final episode of this series that we have been doing for the last 3 weeks. G.C.E O-Level Support Seminar English Language 2020. So far in this series we have discussed 2019 O-Level English Language paper, and we have discussed starting from test number 1 all the way up to test number 12. Today, let us start with test number 13. Test number 13, my dear children, is an easy activity which deals with your reading capability. So let's see how it goes on. Some employment opportunities advertised in a local newspaper are given below. So there are some advertisements for employment opportunities. Okay, so there are some advertisements for employment opportunities. And where are they found? They are found in a local newspaper, and those paper clippings are given below as well, right? Match them with the descriptions of people given. So you have to match this particular advertisement to the description of a person which is given somewhere here. Write the correct letter of the advertisements in the box. Write the correct letter of the advertisement in the box. Right. So what are the letters given to you, my dear children? You have A. So this is advertisement A, and then you have B. You have T as well, right? D, and finally E. So you have guessed it. So if you have 5 options, each option will carry 1 mark. So you get a total of 5 marks for this, right? Right, let's start. Help. Snack bar serving person. Friendly and energetic. Experience not essential. Saturday and Sunday only. Call or drop at Kingsway Centre, Badulla. Telephone number 074 800 4580, or you can say 074 800 4580 and ask for the manager. Now look at this job or employment opportunity. Snack bar serving person. So is the work a very heavy work? No, it's a very casual work where you have to be sort of a server. You take something from the bar and you can serve others. It's sort of like working as a waiter, you can say, or as somebody who is next to the cashier, right? So when you go to shops these days, you will find there's a person next to the cashier. He's not the cashier, but somebody who is helping them. So you have the, for example, if you go to let's say a shop that sells buns and cakes, sort of a bakery shop, there will be a salesperson. He will be serving you, right? So snacks bar serving person. Friendly and energetic. So when you think about energetic, my dear children, this particular adjective that is given to you, so this describes what sort of a person. Should he be a young person, he or she, or should he or she be an old person? So energy, full of energy, is youth, right? So it should be a young person. And they also say experience not essential. Usually young people have very less experience, so they say you don't need to have experience as well. Saturday and Sunday only. So look, on weekends, which is Saturday and Sunday, you have to work. On weekdays you don't have to. This is like sort of a part-time job, right? So this is ideal for a student who is studying, right? If you are students, to be honest, and if you have some sisters or brothers who study in universities, usually their schedule is on weekdays. On weekends they don't have any obligations most of the time, right? So this is ideal for such sort of a person. Now look, if you take number 4, it says a student. Let me take a pen so that I can write it down as well. A student who has followed a course in a hotel school is now looking for a full-time job. Is it applicable for this? No, because we only look for people who have no experience and who can work on weekdays. Now look at the third one. A student, okay, with no experience, alright, who cannot work on weekdays. Now look at this particular statement. It says Saturday and Sunday. Let me underline those two for you. Saturday and Sunday. So these are weekends. They can't work on weekdays. So you should write ideally the letter A here. Right? A. Alright. Okay. Now let us look at the next one. C. Its favorite hotel requires a part-time waiter or waitress. A part-time waiter or waitress. So if somebody is requiring you to be a waiter or a waitress, and they will give you some sort of hints or some sort of clues or some sort of expectations. So what are their expectations? Only applicants with experience and good references will apply. So can a student go and apply for this if he doesn't have any sort of experience? No, he can't. But if you like to work here, can you go and apply? No, you can't. You should have experience. That's one of their criteria is required, and also good references. So what are references in this case? Right? Go through references. Okay. In case of a book or in case of a project, let's say that you are writing a project, and at the end you will write some sort of references. For example, where did you get this particular item, or where did you get this particular material? So the reference in this case will be some web pages, or it can be some books, okay, so or some sort of a link that you have, links, let's say. So you will include this sort of at the end of a book or a project, right? Now this is a type of a reference. So in terms of people, now if you are a person, what sort of a reference do you need? Okay. Now when do you need usual references? Usually when you go to or when you face interviews, right? When you face interviews, you will need references. So references, they will have a different type of reference. Sometimes they would ask that as well, my dear children. You go to a job, get your application, it will say non-related referees. Okay. So what does it mean when somebody says non-related referees? It means that the reference that you get from the person should not be related to you. It can be a teacher, or it can be a parent. I'm sorry, it can't be a parent. It can be a principal or your coach, but it can't be somebody that you know personally. Know personally in the sense, not a family member related to you, right? So references are given usually when you go to a job to certify you and your actions sometimes, or your qualifications, or your behavior. You might have seen some of your brothers and sisters, when they go to jobs, they will have different letters, and it will start somewhere with a heading like this: to whom it may concern. That's how it starts usually, right? It is sort of like a character certificate that you get from your school when you leave school, right? Let's come back. So they also say excellent wages. So wage in this case, what does it mean? Does it mean wage war? No. In this case it is a noun. Wages in this case means your salary and meals on duty. They also say you have to call 0733 527 281 to Right. Let us go through. When you go through this, my dear children, you can understand that the most ideal description fit for number 5. So let us look at the descriptions first. A person with 2 small children who wants to work a few hours. Is it possible? No, that is not going to help you. A lady with no experience. No, you can't have that also. A student who has followed a hotel course looking for a full-time job. He has no experience. No, it can't be. Look at the 5th one. A person with many years of experience working in hotel is now looking for a well-paid part-time employment job in a. So they say that you can be a part-time waiter, waitress, or a full-time waitress. Okay. So the ideal condition here will be person number 5. So you will require person number 5 as. Let us look at number C here, or the T point of this. Wanted a babysitter from January to July. Wanted a babysitter for January to July. So when they say January to July, is it a long-term job or is it a short-term job? It's a short-term job, right? Warm and kind-hearted. Now, don't take it in a wrong way, my dear children, but when you say warm and kind-hearted, does it remind you of a male or does it remind you of a female? Usually when you say warm and kind-hearted, it means mothers, right? So they are expecting a babysitter to look after the baby, and usually ladies are very good at it rather than males, to be honest. So not a gentleman here, but a lady. So hours they say from 8:30 to 5 p.m. So you can start in the morning at 8:30 and finish off at 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. So in the evening you don't, in the weekends you don't have to work, and they also require some reference as well. Okay. So when you say reference, that means usually the person who has good reference will also have good working experience and good qualifications as well. Right. Let us look at the answers now. First one, a person with 2 small children, okay, who wants to work a few hours in the morning, no problem. Unskilled labor in the early mornings. Unskilled means he or she doesn't have any sort of skill. In skill in the in terms of not being able to cope up. For example, unskilled labor are those that do not require you to think and work hard. Hard in the sense to make decisions. For example, a cleaner's job. A cleaner's job is an unskilled labor. We can categorize that as unskilled labor. You just come and clean. Or if you are somebody who is tiling the floor, it's a very monotonous sort of a job, right? So when you have monotonous job, you usually categorize as unskilled labor. So this is not possible for us. What about the next one? A lady with no experience or qualification is looking for a short-term full-time job, Monday to Friday. What about this? A lady with no experience, okay, or qualification is looking for a short-term full-time job, Monday to Friday. So this looks like something that we can help with. Look, Monday to Friday, and here also it says Monday, Friday, and look at the next one. Short-term job. So you can say from January to July means it is short term, and it says a lady. Okay, so this means warm and kind-hearted. So she also wants to work from Monday to Friday, and they say that, do they speak about any sort of experience and qualifications? No, but they just say references required. So if you are a good person, if you have good context, you will be able to get the job. So will I identify this person will be qualified to do the work given in advertisement. Right. Now, C. Cleaner required for 12th floor of modern office. I told you cleaning job does not have to require a lot of skills, right? Usually it is categorized as unskilled labor in Sri Lanka. Okay. Modern office block in the Station Road, Jaya, 2 hours per day. You just come and work for 2 hours, Monday to Friday. To finish work before 8 a.m. That means you can come at 6 o'clock and finish before 8 o'clock. That means just 2 hours. Wages, rupees 20,000 per month. That means your salary is 20,000 for a month. So they say that you don't have to work every day. You just have to work from Monday to Friday and only 2 hours in the morning, and you will get a good salary or as well, right? So let us look at the most ideal candidate here. Right. Now if you take the first one, a person with 2 small children, okay, who wants to work a few hours, and it's also unskilled labor, and in the early mornings, that means for 8 o'clock. So this particular person more qualified to respond to advertisement. Now what about the last one? Let's look at that as well. Full-time cook for a new and exciting cafe venture. So they need a new cook for a new cafe venture. Or that means they are going to start a new shop and they need new people, young people. Okay. So this person can be energetic and should be new and innovating. They should make their own recipes. Everything is included here. Okay. And they say it's good conditions. Pay and working hours can be negotiated. When you come, we can speak about what do you need and how much you can work and everything, and apply for green cafe, right? You know that is for somebody who has followed a course in hotel school and now looking for his first full-time job. Usually these sort of people is their first chance. Alright, my dear children, now you have done test number 13. Test number 13 we went through as how to mark the important structures and finally how to match it up as well. So you can use this method when you complete test number 13. Now to complete test number 14, let me take you to one of my videos that I did previously, which will help you to understand this concept. Right. Now we will be studying about description of a graph. Now if you take a graph, my dear children, this is how we go through the graph. Usually this is your test number 14, where you get 3 marks for your content, 3 for your language, and 2 for organization and 2 for mechanics, right? And you have 2 parts, which is one will write a letter, the other will be some sort of a graphical representation. Okay, the graph can be a table, or it can be a pie chart or a bar graph. It can be one of these. It can be a table, it can be a pie chart, or a bar graph, right? Right, let us see what are the words that will be given to you. You have several words will be given to you, but don't worry, my dear children, you can memorize one set of words. You can use the highest, the lowest, or you can say the most, the least. You can write the equal. You don't say the equal, remember that. That's what I said. I said the equal so that to remind you of the mistake that you did, right? So you can say the highest, the lowest. The reason that you say as the highest and the lowest, the most, the least is because these are superlative adjectives, right? You can say the highest, the most. You have equal. You can use more than or higher than, or you can say less than or lower than. Remember, you don't have to use the exact word that is given to you this particular activity. Right. Let us look at an example. Now this is a bar graph, right, or a bar chart, where you have been given 5 sports. You have rugby, you have tennis, football, cricket and tennis. Right. So we speak about the students, let's say. So you can say highest number of children play tennis, isn't it? You can say, so I'm starting with the highest, so you can say highest number of children play tennis. You can say the lowest number of children play what? Rugby. The lowest number of children play rugby. Okay, and I have given the number also, which is 10. Then you can say equal number of children play cricket and relay, which is 15. Now you have to use lower than, or you can say less than this case, or you also can use higher than, right? First one, the number of children who play football. Okay, I am comparing football. He is more than the number of children who play rugby. Okay, so I am comparing rugby and football. You can see the number of children who play football higher than the number of children who play rugby. And you can say from this graph we can understand. What can you understand from this graph? You can write that as well. You can understand that tennis has become a popular outdoor activity. So this is how we complete the activity. So it's quite simple, and what you can do is you can make it into a particular paragraph that has 100 words. So I am giving you a very basic layout as to how you can complete this activity, right? So let us come back to our work now. Now this is a pie chart. This pie chart shows how Mr. Pereira spent his salary in the month of July 2019 on various household needs. So we have to study it and write a description. Now in this case, my dear children, I will write description with you. They have different sectors here. Food, education, clothing, savings, transport, electricity, and others. So from this, what can you understand for this? And first you have to understand this pie chart. You can understand that this is the total expenditure, or how Mr. Pereira spent his salary on various household needs. So what did he spend on? He spent his salary. Remember, not spend, spent, S-P-E-N-T. Remember the particular tense that is given to you is in past tense. So you write he spent his salary on what are the things? On food, in education, clothes, savings, transport, electricity, and other minor needs, or you can say and other needs, because you know about needs and wants in your commerce language, right? So you can start. He spent how much on food? This is the highest, right? So you can say the highest percentage of his salary was spent on food. Or you can also say he spent 25% of his salary on food. And you can say he also spent 22% of his salary on education. So you can see there is 15% in both areas, right? So you can say an equal amount of his salary was spent on savings. I'm sorry, this is savings, right? Savings and clothes. So this is equal. At the same time, you can say he spent 12% of his salary on what? Transport, while 8% on electricity. He only spent 3% for other minor needs. So you can say according to this pie chart, we can see that the highest percentage of his salary is spent on what? Food, and the lowest percentage of his salary is spent on the minor needs. From this you can understand, my dear children, I have not used all the words. You can use only the words that you like. So let us write a description for this first. Let me start here. Okay, I'm going to start in a new page. So I can say this pie chart shows, right, how Mr. Pereira spent, remember, is P-E-N-T, it is past tense, his salary on, not on, right, in the month of July 2019. Now look, it says the following pie chart shows how Mr. Pereira spent his salary in the month of July 2019. Okay, on various continue on various household needs, right? So what am I doing here in this case? I'm essentially just copy pasting, right? It is given here, I'm just taking that and putting it down. If it is a bar chart, what you will say? You will say the x-axis shows something, meanwhile while the y-axis shows something else. But in this case, can you say like that? No, because it's a pie chart, you don't get x and y in this case, no axis here, right? So I'm just going to say what are the things that is given here: food, education, clothes, savings. I'm just going to write that as well. Okay, so you can say he spent his salary on, what are the things? Food, education, then you have clothes, what else do you have? Savings, transport, electricity, right? Then savings, electricity, transport, and other minor needs. I will say minor, the reason is because, my dear children, if it is a major need, it will be stated by Mr. Pereira, right? So this is my first paragraph. Now I am going to describe the graph one by one, right? Now look at this one. I am going to say about this 25% and 22%. 25% is for food, 22 is for education. Let's start very easily. He spent how many percent? 25%, right? On food, and 22% of his salary. Why don't I write like that? Of his salary. Salary for what? What did he spend for? Education, right? Education, right? That's the first line. Now I'm going to say about these two. You can write in any method that you like, my dear children. I'm just following one particular method. There are hundreds and hundreds of methods how you can write that. You can start with the highest percentage, or you can say the lowest percentage, or it is up to you. But I'm just going to start with the highest and go through the circle or all these portions now. So I have completed these two. I'm going in an order. I'm going to compare these two, right? So this is clothes and what? Savings. These are equal, right? So I can say an equal amount of, I don't have to say Mr. Pereira all the time, his salary is spent on, okay, or you can say very simply was spent on savings and what else? Clothes. So yes, right. Now I don't want to write that. What about these two? I'm going to tell you about this 12%. At the same time, I'm going to tell about 8%. So if you want to include both of these in the same sentence, my dear children, you will use some sort of a connective. You can say meanwhile, or you can say and, or you can say while, or whatever that comes to your mind and whatever that is suitable for you, you can use. I'm going to use the connective which is while. Okay, so I can at this 12% is for transport and 8% is for electricity, right? Into that. So how will I write? I can say while he spent 12% of his salary on, what did he spend on? Transport. He, or we can say 8% of his salary was spent on what? Electricity. Okay. Now look at the last one, only 3%, right? So I am going to use one of these words here. This is how you will ideally write. Okay, so this is the lowest percentage, right? So I will say the lowest percentage of his salary was spent on other minor needs. I'm going to write that. Select this first, salary, the lowest percentage of his salary was spent on, sorry, I'm always here because of some keyboard errors, right? Was spent on what? Other minor needs. I'm going to say how much it was, which was 3%. And finally I'm going to say what I can conclude. I can say from this pie chart, remember it's a pie chart or bar graph, we can understand that. Now I will write from this pie chart we can understand that as a statement, or you can say according to this pie chart, or you can say from this pie chart we can conclude that, or you can say in conclusion. So these are different sort of statements that you can say to complete this particular activity. I will use one particular phrase, which is from this pie chart we can understand that Mr. Pereira, what has he done? Spent the highest percentage for what? Percentage of his salary. Let's see what must be. But on what has he spent? Is it 22% or 25%? It's 25%, right? And he has spent all this 25% on food, right? Of his salary on food. That's it. Not that tough. So this is a method that is not the same as what I explained before. Earlier I told you you can use the highest percentage, lowest, more than, less than and equal. But in this case what I have written is something else. So let me explain what I have done to you and what you can do as well. The first thing what you can do is, my dear children, you can just copy the first line and paste it. First line, the following pie chart up to needs. Okay. But if they say about a school, you can write the name of the school as well. Right. The second thing, if it is a bar chart, remember to include the phrase what the x-axis shows as well as what the y-axis shows. So for example, you can say the x-axis shows the type of food the students like, while the y-axis shows the number of children. Okay, so it will be given to you. If it is a pie chart, can you write that? No, you can't. After that, you can include what is given there. In case of a pie chart, you can say, you can start with one, the highest one, and go on all the way. That's how they have given here. For example, you can speak about the food here, and then finally about the other needs, food, then this particular. So you have covered all the stuff. You have described the graph. Or if I am to use any of these things, I can use like this. For example, look, I'll just read it out to you. So if I dictate it out, maybe you can write it down if you like to. As it is a YouTube video, you can pause, rewind and watch it. It is too fast for you. I will write like this. The following pie chart shows how Mr. Pereira spent his salary in the month of July 2019 on various household needs. He spent his salary on food, education, clothes, saving, transport, electricity and other minor needs. Let's start here. The highest percentage of salary was spent on, that you can say he spent on food is 25%, and the lowest percentage of his salary was spent on, what is it, other minor needs, which is 3%. So I have covered these two, right? Now I'm going to speak about equal amount. So I'm going to say that equal amount of his salary was spent on savings and clothing, which is 15%. Okay, so I have done this highest, the lowest and equal. Now I have only 3 to cover. So I will say the percentage of salary, this percentage, right? The percentage of salary spent on, what is it, education is less than what was spent for food. So I have covered this as well. Now I am going to compare these two. So I can say I have used the word highest, then I have also used the words lowest, and I have used the words equal and less than. Now what about more than? I can say the salary spent on, what is it, 12% transport is more than the salary spent on electricity. Okay, so I have explained the whole graph using these particular terminology. So remember, my dear children, we can use all the words if we want to, or we can use only a few words that we need. And finally, I would say, according to this pie chart, we can see that Mr. Pereira has spent the highest amount or the highest percentage of his salary on food. I hope that you have got the concept, my dear children. If not, go to my video. I have uploaded the video that I showed you earlier in YouTube as well. You can go to that and check yourself. Right. Now let us go through test number 15. Our final activity, final test, and the final activity for this series as well as the session. Read the following text and complete the task given below. In this case, my dear children, you are given not one paragraph, but rather you are given 4 paragraphs, right? So the first paragraph, and then you have the second one, third one, and finally the fourth one. This is about Peter. As you can see, all the paragraph starts as Peter. So you will understand this is about somebody by the name of Peter. There are 2 ways of doing this, my dear children. I rather recommend the first method, which is to read through all the lines, understand and do, which is much better. Or else you can just find the answer somewhere and mark it off. But in this case, I think it is better to go through word by word, because it's not that sort of a tough paragraph as you might put it, but rather it's quite easy. Let's read through. Peter was born in southern England in 1812, when Industrial Revolution in England was well underway. It means that Peter, he was born in the southern part of England. So if it is Sri Lanka, you can say Gal Hambantota. Gal and Hambantota, Matara, these are in the southern province or the southern part of Sri Lanka, right? Similarly, Peter was born in England, in the southern parts of England. What was the year? 1812. So what is the first one? Peter was born in London. Does it say about London? No, it says about southern England. So you will understand that the first particular answer in this case is not correct. Pause, right? So I will mark that as well. Take a pen. I am going to mark it. First one is wrong. He was not born in London. Right. As thousands of factories were opened for business, we take the other pointer so it's much easier. As thousands of factories were opened for business, people left their farms for the cities. Now this was during the time of Industrial Revolution. You might study about Industrial Revolution in your history, about how machines came into being and what happened and how things changed, how steam engine was invented, about Sir Henry Steele Olcott. All these things would come under Industrial Revolution. Okay, at that time in 1812, you know that it was the time or the prime of Industrial Revolution. So thousands of factories were open. So people, what did they do? They left their farms. They had different farms, right? They left them and went to the cities. Why? But their dreams of making more money and improving their lives, all they did not come true. So when you are in your village, my dear children, where do you usually go to work? What about your parents and what about your family members? Usually they work in cities. Why? Because the money is good, the pay is good, and you can get more facilities. So people usually tend to move towards cities, because cities have that sort of a captivating idea where the life would be better. I myself live in a rural area, Sri Lanka, Pahalagurkoya. Even from my village, people migrate to Colombo to go and work there. So during the lockdown, a lot of people suffered because they do not have work. They can't find work when Colombo is locked down. So similarly, people went there so that they thought of making more money. That was their dream. And also to improve their life. So they want to build houses, and then buy more vehicles, and have a high quality or standard of life. But sometimes it did not come true. Men, women, and even children often exchange back-breaking work, the field for the boredom and danger of factory work. So you can see during the Industrial Revolution, my dear children, you might have studied that men, women, and children alike, they worked there. Back-breaking work means, in this case, it was very, very hard manual labor. Okay. And the factory work was dangerous as well, because the equipment at that time was not as safe as it is right now. Let's look at the second paragraph. Peter's family moved to London when he was 5. So Peter's family moved to London. So they were not in London at that time, right? His father John worked as a clerk. Father John worked as a clerk. Clerk is, you know about clerks, right? When you go to offices, you see people who writing down and filling forms. They'll be sitting on their desks. So he was better off than many people in London. Compared to others, he was quite good. Why? Because he did not have to do any sort of very hard, back-breaking manual labor. But his large family and love of entertaining, he and his wife constantly lived beyond their means. But what happened? He had a large family. There were a lot of children and he had a lot of mouths to feed. At the same time, he had a love of entertaining. He loved to play cards. He went gambling. So what happened? He could not pay the debts. He would take money from others and he could not pay them back. What happened? When Peter was 12, his father John was arrested for failing to pay a debt. So his father could not pay some money back, so the police took him, arrested him. He was sent to debtors' prison, where people were kept until they could pay back the money they owed. So where did he go? He went to a prison. What prison? Debtors' prison, right? And where people were kept until they could pay money they owed. So they were there until somebody came and paid the money. That was the real situation. Peter was taken out of school. So what happened? Because there was no money, Peter could not go to school. Fortunately for us, my dear children, in Sri Lanka, with the advent of free education for all of us can study, and it's free of charge, and we cannot work in Sri Lanka. As children, it is our right to study, right to go to education. There is a right to an education, right? So remember, at that time in England, it was not available, and unlike our country right now, their country suffered at that time. Peter was taken out of school. There was no money, right? And forced. Forced means, did he like to go there? No, he was forced to work in a shoe polish factory. So what was his work there in the shoe polish factory? wrapping and pasting labels on bottle. So if you take a bottle, you will see there is a wrapping that you can put it around and cover it up. At the same time, there are labels that you can paste it, right? That was his work. He worked from dawn to dark. What does it mean, dawn to dark? From early morning until it was very dark. 6 days a week. So not 5 days, 6 days. That means, let's say for example, from Monday to Saturday he worked a week in a dark room, listening to rats squeak beneath the rotting floorboards. Now you can see the condition that he worked. So how did he work in this case? He worked from morning till evening until it was very dark. All 6 days he has to work, and the place was very dark, and underneath the floor he can hear the rats squeaking. The sound of the rats were there. So look at the condition that he was living at that time. Very pathetic condition. His father finally inherited some money, settled his debts, and was released from jail. So what happened was, finally his father inherited. Inherited means that somebody from the family, usually when they die, they will write it in their will. For example, I will give this particular property to so and so. So somehow his father got some money through some inheritance. That means somebody from his family had died and they had written something in their will. Okay, I will give 50,000 to John, something like that. Okay, so he got that money and he settled his debts and was released from jail. Peter later claimed, that means at some time later means after some years, Peter claimed, that means Peter was very sure that the factory experience nearly destroyed him. He told others, he was very sure of that, after he was released, that means after he stopped working from the factory, after a few years he told that that particular experience in the factory, there he was working 6 days a week and the rats were squeaking beneath his particular floor that he was there. That experience, the way what he felt, it nearly destroyed him, destroyed his morale, destroyed his confidence. The story of Peter's childhood reads like the story of one of his novels. Forced to work at young age. So this particular Peter is a famous novel writer, okay, and he writes about that as well. Peter suffered long hours and unhealthy conditions common in factories in 19th century England. So the memories of his experience haunted him for the rest of his life. Very true. And in the 19th century, what happened was, my dear children, due to industrial revolution, a lot of people went to work in factories, but the factories emitted a lot of smoke. So the conditions were very unhealthy and they had to work for long hours, right? So due to that, his experience came back once again when he was old. So they always remembered that sound, that smell, everything was sort of like embossed in their memory. Let's come back. Some people in farms migrated to cities. That's true, right? You can see about migration to farms. One. First thing, there. You see, people left their farms. That is there. Working in factories became a tiresome experience for people. Isn't it? You see, working was very tiring, very difficult. What sort of work was it? Back breaking work. Of course it will be tiring. That's also true. Peter had 2 brothers and 1 sister in his family. Is it given here anywhere about a sister and 2 brothers? No, it is not given. So it is not given to you. John and his wife had spent money with care. Is it true? No. What happened? John and his wife constantly lived beyond their means. That means they spent a lot. They did not care about the money. So this is false. Peter became an author in the later stage of his life. That is true, right? How do you know that? It speaks about one of his novels. A novel writer is an author, right? That is also true. So you get half a mark for each, my dear children. So in total you will get 3 marks for this particular task. Let us look at the second. Write a word from the first paragraph closest in meaning to each phrase given below. Very hard and tiring. You can see very hard and tiring means back breaking, the word. Okay, back breaking is the word. Very hard and tiring. We spoke about this, isn't it? Possibility of harm or injury. You know about this as well, right? Look at this. I told you, when you say dangerous, it means possibility of harm or injury. So you can get this as well. Write the sentence in paragraph 2, which says Peter's father had a fairly good life. So when you speak about Peter's father in paragraph 2, there is a sentence that says that. To take the second paragraph, this is your second paragraph, my dear children. Now they speak about his father. What does they speak about here? Look at this. His father, John, worked as a clerk. Not a clerk in this sense, it's a clerk. So he was better off than many people in London. So you have to start from this particular verb, which is his, until London. So what you will do, you will just copy and paste it. Remember that. Underline the word that best explains the behavior of Peter's parents. Were they wise, my dear children? No, they were not wise. They were not careful with money. Were they intelligent? You can't say about that. It is not given. Were they thoughtful? Did they think about Peter and how the children will suffer? No, they were not thoughtful as well. So they were irresponsible. Look at this one. Underline the most suitable title for the given text. So what does this particular thing describe about? Peter's childhood? You can say yes, okay. Peter's dreams. Does it speak about the Peter's dreams? No. Peter's prison life, yes, but is it completely about that? No, it is just one paragraph, right? And actually, Peter did not go to prison, it was his father. Peter's school life, no. So, B, C and D are not suitable. The most suitable answer is number 4, is A. That marks the end of our episode and sadly, the end of our series as well. So in this 4-part series, we have discussed 2019 paper as how will you complete it, what are the possible methods of answering, and different types of questions that can come to you, and how confidently you can face it. We hope that from this particular session that you have been able to grasp the concept of test number 13, 14 and 15. And we hope that in the coming years, or when you are sitting for G.C.E O-level examinations, that you will be better off and you can score as many marks as possible, and hopefully we hope that all of you will get good grade in your English language paper for G.C.E O-level. So please remember to subscribe to our channel. That will be a huge motivation for us, and share our videos with your friends so that they can watch as well. If you are teachers, you are free to use this particular content in your classroom to educate your children and hopefully motivate them in the future as well. Regarding test number 16, I have done a separate video in my channel. I will put that here as well, so you can go and watch it at the same time. And finally, my dear children, as this project is over, we hope to meet you once again with a very exciting project in the near future. Until that time, I'm Abdul Rahman, and I hope that you like our videos. Thank you very much. Remember once again to like, subscribe and share our videos.